TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh! We got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes,
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Dancing at Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Rattlegion Broadcasting premiere podcast. This is TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Rattlegion. Tonight, our favorite show is Upload, brought to you by the good people at Greg Daniels, Deedle D Productions, 3 Arts Entertainment, Reunion Pacific Entertainment, Baral Wally Productions, Amazon Studios, and Amazon Prime Video. Joining me to talk about Season 1 of Upload from Honeysuckle Rose Creations, this is Alexis Haina. How do you do, madam?
Hey, it's actually been a while since I've been on the show. I've been missing you guys.
Yes.
Sort of.
Well, that's fine. This one wasn't necessarily scheduled originally, but you had watched it a while back, and you pitched it to me to talk about, and I said, sure, I'll say what the heck.
Yeah, it's one of the few. It's one of the few times I got to watch something that I actually just wanted to watch.
Yeah, that's a rarity among people I podcast with. The subject matter, the idea of uploading oneself into the singularity, into to become digitized and living essentially in a virtual space, is very interesting to me. They dealt with this on Black Mirror. As a matter of fact, I think that episode specifically won an Emmy. Is this something that you've come across in other media? Or was this the first time you were exposed to the idea of uploading one's consciousness to a virtual space? Was through Upload. Like, when did you come across this idea?
I have seen the idea of uploading into a digital consciousness through other media, other TV shows, and other concepts. But I think this was the first time I had seen it where it would be seen as a substitute for the afterlife. The idea that by doing this, you technically aren't dead, that you are still conscious of the world around you. You can still interact with your friends and family who are living. I mean, so much of the idea is when we die, we don't know what's going to happen to us. And even if we do go to the afterlife, how much are we going to remember of our lives here on Earth? We have no idea what's going to happen. This is the idea that the afterlife could be exactly what you want it to be and have everything planned out and be able to do whatever you want. And there's something pretty interesting about that. And there's a lot on the idea of where do we draw the line between uploading ourselves like that or trusting our faith and just going into whatever really does await us when we die, which we get through a couple of other characters. And it asks a lot of questions. Not to mention, I love all of the technology that we see in this show. I love how we see so many things that are not totally unfamiliar to our world right now. Obviously, the idea of uploading to an AI doesn't exist, but there's so many other things they have in the show that, while not popular or common enough for the average person, we have seen that kind of stuff floating around. We see it on the news, we see it on computers, and I think it's just kind of interesting that it's almost like the show is saying, this is the step we're going to take. This is where things are going. And I really like that.
Yeah, the show takes place in the year 2033, so it's 13 years from where we are right now, and some of those pieces of technology, besides the uploading into a digital space, we have smart cars, smart driverless cars, which play a big role in actually how the plot develops. Printable food. Was there anything? Those are the two that stuck out to me. Was the printable food and the smart cars. Was there anything else that you picked up?
There was a couple other things. For example, in the second episode, we have our living characters, Nora, hook up with a guy through, I'm guessing through a dating app, and they actually record themselves on their phones giving consent. before they have sex. And I just kind of laughed. It's like in our age of Me Too, that it seems so clear that would happen in our near future. That again, that's like, yeah, oh my God, I see that happening very easily.
Yeah, totally. I laughed at that. So the show operates, it's got a straightforward plot line, in as far as there's a drama here. There's a mystery, there's a drama, there's comedy. So you have all these different dramatic elements, but it also acts as sort of satire-ish of the age of technology that we're in. Which I find, which I laughed at, like the I give consent thing, I thought was funny. The child bites into a real piece of chicken at one point, and she's like, "What is this? Like, that's bone." Not every, and somebody else at the table had to say, "Yeah, not everybody can afford real food."
Yeah.
So that stuff like that made me laugh. Just before we move forward and talk about the TV shows, I am curious. I am 100% behind the idea of uploading one's consciousness. If that technology is available to me, before I am at a point where I'm ready to die, for whatever the reasons are, natural causes, bullet to the head, whatever, I want that option. I've talked about this with Jesse all the time. I am a huge fan of the singularity. I want to be digital. How about you? What is your take on the main piece of technology being talked about in this thing, the idea of uploading into the virtual space?
It depends, actually, on who you get to see when you upload. We see later on Nora's father. She's trying to get him a discount so she can upload him to the same area that the majority of our storyline goes through, and he's refusing, not because he's scared, but because Nora's mother, his wife, had passed away some time ago, probably before. I don't think they ever really say clearly what she died of or how long ago it was, but it was obviously before Upload was a thing, or even before Nora started working there. And he says, "I don't want to do that because your mother is waiting for me." And I think about that going, what if this wasn't available before my husband died, or what if my parents died, and the idea was, okay, I can go to Upload, but doing this, I'm not going to see my family again. I lost my grandmother last year, and she was the most important person in the world to me. I'm like, I want to see my grandmother again when, hopefully a long time from now, knock on wood, I move on to what's next. So,
okay.
There is a lot to ask about. Let me ask you this. You're married. You have a wonderful family. You've got 2 kids who like to use you as a pommel horse, apparently, or pommel horse trampoline. I don't know if they're going head first or foot first on you.
Depends on the child and the moment of the day.
Okay, there you go. Would you want to do Upload if they weren't there?
I don't believe in an after. The question is, do I believe in an afterlife or not? And I personally don't. I don't believe in an afterlife. It's really funny. My 6-year-old actually brought this up. He started talking about afterlife, and he talked about reincarnation. The idea that you're reincarnated as a lesser being, and he had all kinds of questions about that, and he had very, very decided opinions on the matter. He knew exactly what he wanted to be reincarnated in. It was interesting from the mouth of a 6-year-old. But being Jewish and just being sort of agnostic, as it were, I don't particularly believe in an afterlife. So for me, and the idea of death and then there's nothing, I've had a few recent bouts of unconsciousness from being sick over the past 6 months. Where I was coughing so hard that I lost consciousness, and I woke up in a different place than when I started. So, and I lost a bit of time, and it did not appeal to me. There was black. There was nothing. I lost a moment of my life, and that's not something I particularly want to re-experience. And so that's what I believe death to be. It's just everything just stops, and my personal belief is that dust to dust, ashes to ashes. So the idea that I could Kobayashi Maru that, I could escape the no-win scenario, which is death, through uploading, I'm very positive on. I don't know where the rest of my family would land on that. I know, selfishly for me, that's what I would choose.
I guess, yeah, it does ask a lot of questions about whether or not you actually believe in the afterlife. So
Right. Well, let me read the full premise here. In the year 2033, humans are able to upload themselves into a virtual afterlife of their choosing. When computer programmer Nathan, who is played by Robbie Amell, dies prematurely, he is uploaded to the very expensive Lakeview, but soon finds himself under the thumb of his possessive, still-living girlfriend, Ingrid, who is played by Allegra Edwards. As Nathan adjusts to the pros and cons of digital heaven, he bonds with Nora, who is played by Andy Allo, his living customer service rep, or Angel. Nora struggles with the pressures of her job, her dying father who does not want to be uploaded, as we talked about, and her growing feelings for Nathan while slowly coming to believe that Nathan was murdered. So, over the course of... Now, this has already been renewed for a second season, and it ends with kind of a cliffhanger. But we had 10 episodes here, and I think they were about 22 minutes apiece, roughly, 22 minutes to a half an hour. And there's sort of three plot lines about. There's the main plot with just him sort of adjusting to Lakeview and his sort of developing relationship with Nora. There's this murder plot line where over the course of 10 episodes, between him and Nora, they seem to figure out that his death was not accidental, that it was in fact purposeful, it was murder, and why he was murdered, and what all that's about. And then third to that, you have different secondary characters. There's a child character who died young, and he's been in Lakeview for many years, and his mother won't allow him to age up. And we're going to talk about that because there's different elements of this that I think bear fruit for conversation. There's a Army veteran. There's an Army veteran
who kind of becomes the comic relief best friend scenario.
Yeah, they use him to sort of play out different scenarios that one might come across in a virtual space like this. So he's kind of a fun character. And then there's the stuff with the girlfriend and her family. So let's take this by let's talk about our main characters here. Robbie Amell is Nathan Brown. I think he's appropriately. He does the stranger in a strange land thing pretty well. He definitely, I think through him and his struggles to adapt to Lakeview, I think you get a good sense of his character. And the first half of it where he's trying to adjust, I think are fun episodes that really draw the viewer in. And I think so by the end of it, when the switch is, oh, he's been murdered, you as the viewer are sympathetic to what happened to him. Like, he's not a shitty character. I think he's a pretty decent human being, all things considered. So what did you think of Robbie Amell's Nathan Brown?
I think he's probably a better actor than his older brother, actually.
Okay.
Stephen Amell.
Yeah, I know who you're talking. Arrow. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, exactly.
No, I like the character a lot. He is a little on the douchey side, but not enough to make him an unlikable character. Everyone talks about how he needs to break up with Ingrid, how they don't get along that well, how she is just like so vapid and so annoying, and he doesn't break up with her because she's hot. He's clearly, he's very obviously a smart guy. We learned that he's been working on some computer app where we see him working on the coding, and I am married to a software engineer, so I can tell you that takes more than a few brain cells to do. It's something I've never been able to figure out. So it shows that he does have a good handle. So we see that he's close with his family. We see him dancing with, oh my God, was that his niece or his cousin? I can't remember the little girl, how they were related.
I'm going to say niece until I see something that says otherwise.
Yeah, sweet little kid. And she asked if they could dance together. Yeah, it's her classic dance class, and they're dancing to early 2000s hip hop, and I love it. That was so cute.
Yeah, she's Navia is Nathan's niece.
Yeah. You know, when he is being sent into upload, he's asking for his mother. He wants to see her one last time. We know that he's close to his family, and he is really enjoyable. You know, when he starts to get used to upload, I love that his biggest thing is for the maple bacon donuts. You ever had maple bacon donuts?
Yes, I have. They're delicious.
I've never actually had those. I have had bacon chocolate chip. I've made bacon chocolate chip cookies.
Well, the funny thing about the whole eating of the food was you don't have to eat, you know, in a virtual space because you are virtual, you know, you are code essentially. But they make it because the act of eating is an act of humanity. It is in fact human to eat to sustain oneself. And so you take that away, you take part of the living experience away. And so the whole idea is to try to emulate to the best degree that they can the idea of living, you know, and it's so funny because they talk about that throughout the show. You know, like you can pay extra to have a cold because to be sick is to have the human experience, that sort of thing. They do that a lot throughout this. That if you make it too perfect, and I think there's even a throwaway gag in this where they talked about like that you couldn't blink and then there was something else and people went crazy within a week.
Yeah, his army vet friend talks about how when this world was first created, yeah, they didn't eat, they didn't blink, they didn't sleep, and most of them jumped into the torrent, which is essentially a giant data wall that, upon jumping into, your all of your data is destroyed. So you are dead. It kind of reminds me of that line of dialogue from The Matrix when they're interrogating Morpheus and Agent Smith is discussing how the first Matrix was a utopia. It was a paradise, but so many humans could not accept it. You know, they just couldn't deal with it, and they're saying we lost so many. You know, just the idea that as humans we need to have certain things, even if we don't technically need them. We go insane if we don't have them.
Yes, we have to have a mountain to climb. They say, like, idle hands are the devil's work. And it's so funny that, like, so much of modern literature, whether it's the movies or TV show or books, and I count all those things as literature, they all written, in some form or another, they are written, that the idea of being happy, you know, is imperfection. That life's imperfections, life's difficulties, life's hills and valleys are what make the experience worthwhile. And the only way that humanity can accept it. And I'm fascinated by that line of logic.
Absolutely. But yeah, yes, thank you, Eddie. I'm sorry, I have a corgi who is demanding to get on-air attention and get pets. Or I throw his tennis ball or something. You know, we do see a lot more of the technology. I love the idea of being able to attend your own funeral, like we see. That was really cool. even though we do clearly see our main character's funeral is a total disaster. And it does actually kind of make me wonder, it's like, if we could spy in on our own funeral, do you think we'd actually be happy with what people were talking about?
I don't know. I remember my grandparents' funeral, and I remember, you know, it was 2 days of the showing, you know, we were just laid out for people to come and visit, and in the beginning it was a solemn affair, and like by the end of it, it felt like one of my cousin's confirmation parties. People were just chilling, eating food. Like, just having casual conversation. Like, it didn't feel like the solemn, you know. It felt like we'd forgotten who the guest of honor was. Which I don't.
Well, speaking of which, I think
I want to roast. When I die, I want to be roasted. And if I can virtually respond, that'd be even better.
Tell your wife to make sure that all of us on the network are invited to your funeral, and we will give you one hell of a roast. I give you my word.
There you go. We'll have Jesse. We'll have Jesse host it.
Exactly. Although I think this does bring in a good segue to one of our other main characters. What did you think of Ingrid?
You know, Ingrid's in the beginning kind of painted to be a villain. She's holding the purse strings of Nathaniel, Nathan, and it's like, you know, she kind of has him under her thumb in the beginning. I think over time, and ultimately leading to the decision that she comes to, she softens up about it. You know, in the beginning, I almost didn't get the impression that she was truly in love with the guy, but that definitely changes over the course of the season.
See, I'm actually starting to wonder if she truly was. I mean, for the record, I can't even remember if this was the first episode or the second episode, where she says, "I love you," and Nathan actually goes, "Whoa, we've never said that before." And you just realize when he was in the hospital and she's saying, you know, "Go to Upload and we'll be together forever." And then suddenly you sit there and go, "Wait, you did that and you two weren't even technically in love?" Just, it's kind of mind-boggling. And we get a later episode where they're doing an interview. And yeah, it's all about, it's like, you know, making this relationship work even though he's in the digital AI. And he starts talking about how she picks out his clothes. We get that horribly embarrassing scene where she's picking out his clothes for the funeral. And then when he gets mad at her for co-opting the funeral, she threatens to delete him. Right then and there, she's like, you know, "I'll hit the delete button and I'll go home with your friend." Just, holy shit.
Yeah, I definitely, the first half of it, she's definitely a shrew. But I want to say it's the dinner party where things start to change. She has a dinner party with her family, and they're, of course, sniping at one another. And this is the sleepover with Nevaeh, and which is where Nevaeh bites into the chicken bone. And I feel like when she becomes disconnected from her family, and also definitely after she finds out that it was, and correct me if I'm wrong here, her dad's company set him up to get killed via car wreck.
It's not really confirmed yet, but that's the way it's looking.
And she did something to save him. The whole reason why she's insistent, even though he wasn't really coding, that she was insistent on him being uploaded, was to save him from a second attempt by her dad. That was the impression that I got.
It's possible. It is a very weird scene when he's in the hospital because he's saying he's feeling fine, and the doctors are very coldly going, "Nope, he's going to flatline. He's going to be gone in 5 minutes." But he's saying, "I feel fine." You know, it's so bizarre, and you kind of said, again, they're building up a lot, and there is still a lot that hasn't been resolved yet.
Right.
And you're kind of just sitting wondering, was he delusional? Was he actually about to flatline? Were these doctors being paid off by Ingrid's family? So, I mean, and then of course we get the glorious ending with Ingrid, which we'll get to in a little bit. But oh my God, when she shows up in Upload, it was just like, okay, this just went straight to hell.
Well, that brings us to Andy Allo's Nora Anthony, who is the angel that, over the course of several episodes, falls in love with Nathan. You know, first she's just helping him along, and she's trying to help him adjust, and she's sort of detached from the whole thing. She's dating a guy in real life. Not really dating. They're having sex, and they go on like one date. And I think for purposes of plotline, she's like stringing him along in different things. But let's talk about that. What did you Now, I personally like Nora. I thought the woman who played her, Andy Allo, did a good job of portraying this character. There's not really a whole lot about her that I mean, she has her flaws, but she's not the kind of character I actively rooted against, which is a problem in a lot of TV shows that I watch where some of these... This is why I make a point of talking about this. Like, I'm in the middle of watching a show called Kingdom, which we're going to review next month, and some of these characters make such terrible decisions that it's hard to, it's hard to stay with them through over the course of the season. It's hard to root for them as characters, even though they're your heroes, essentially. She's pretty cool. She doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, I think her biggest issue is she's sort of struggling with her place in the universe, and she's too into her job, and that's and she becomes enmeshed with this one citizen of Lakeview, Nathan, and that causes a whole slew of problems.
Nora definitely has a lot on her plate. Again, we're talking about her father, who has vape lung disease and is probably on death's door, and she's, working hard to get him in there, but her boss says it's like she needs a higher star rating to get the discount. Oh my God, Nora's boss. Now, there's a character that you just want to punch in the face.
Yes. Andrea Rosen is Lucy, yes. She's meant to become...
It's like, I'm kidding, you're not... Yeah, it's like, I'm kidding, you're not getting the bonuses. Oh, Lord, they just made her so unlikable.
Yeah, but I think that was the point.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, there's that. And you really think about it, Nora's not just... She's got a lot to do with that job. Yeah. She talks about how she's tech support. She's not just tech support. She's tech support. She's a therapist. She's a counselor. We have one of her charges who died as a young boy, and he's uploaded and he's visiting his family, and it's explained through them that he has been an upload for well over 10 years, but his family will not pay for him to grow in the system. I'm guessing they're just like, nope, we want you to stay the way you are. And he's got a baby brother who is now a teenager and has a girlfriend. And going back to another movie, Interview with the Vampire, you have, oh my God, what's the kid's name?
Reese Witherspoon?
No, not Reese Witherspoon, the other annoying blonde actress.
Kirsten Dunst.
Thank you. Who is turned into a vampire as a child, and she goes insane over 20 years that she is still stuck in the body of a child. She's an adult,
right,
and she's never going to change into an adult. And you feel the same thing for this kid. He's like, I am tired of being a child. I want to grow up. I want to be an adult. I want to know what that's like. And his family doesn't know that, and he is just constantly so upset about where he is, and Nora has to take care of him. She has to make sure he's happy. So she is essentially just, like I said, like a freaking family counselor trying to help this poor kid who wants nothing more than to, finally go through puberty.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because talking about that aspect of Nora's job, she becomes enmeshed with Nathan, and they end up having a romantic relationship to a degree. And then, I think there's other people who you see her taking care of, and then you see her taking care of this kid. These are all rather positive angel-client relationships. Some of the fun of the show is where they take the focus off of the main characters and show you how this doesn't always work out that way. So you have Zainab Johnson, who plays Alicia, who is Nora's co-worker, and she is Luke's angel, who's played by Kevin Bigley. We talked about him before. And Luke is great. Luke has been there long enough that he knows how to do cheat codes. He knows where to find
the gray market.
Yeah, he knows where he knows the black market and where to go to get stuff and how to get stuff, and he finds a place where humans interact with Lakeview residents, things like that. And they have a very antagonistic relationship, which is really funny to watch, and it takes some of the focus away from the main storyline, which I think it needed. Then you needed to see some other, it doesn't really progress the storyline at all, but I think the relationship between Alicia and Luke is fun and entertaining and makes the show even more watchable. rather than just focusing strictly on Nora and Nathan and Ingrid.
Yeah, and I do like Luke as a character. He's a lot of fun. He gets to add a little bit of the exposition. I love just the opening scene when he misses the breakfast and he goes and shows Nathan how to get a cheat code to get I think it was a donut or a roll. I don't know what it was, but yeah, apparently you just walk over here and slam the fridge shut 5 times and you get an automatic pastry item.
Yeah, it was
and
funny.
And it's kind of fun because he's an Army vet and he is clearly lonely there because he just latches on to Nathan, and not in a needy way. It's not like, desperate, clingy, but it's obvious that he really wants a good friend. I mean, hell, he shows up in full military regalia to Nathan's funeral, even though he wasn't invited. He's introducing himself as his best friend. And he's like, I didn't want to pull the military thing here to try to win people over to his side. Like it's like, I just like this helps my argument.
Well, I think the attachment to Nathan's character, to Robbie Amell's character Nathan, is if you notice, and they deal with this in the show, that Lakeview is just one of the many options to upload to. And Lakeview is kind of like this upstate New York kind of almost like retirement home, or something to that effect. It is, you are meant to grow old and die and be uploaded. And so you see a lot of elder folk roaming around Lakeview. There's not too many people in like their late 20s, early 30s going, so I think to that extent Luke's, as you said, Luke is lonely because there's nobody in his cohort, his age cohort, until Nathan comes along. Nathan's 27. I got to imagine Luke's around the same age when he bought it. And I think he saw an opportunity to bond with another person around his age so they could do stuff together. Which also then begs the question about, this whole digital afterlife experience of, so you go ahead and do this, what if there's no one to make friends with? What if you have a hard time meeting people in death as you did in life? That sort of thing. It's all very. This is the kind of show where you could sit and talk about the philosophy of it all. About a variety of different things. The concept of the afterlife itself. What happens if you die too young, as the kid does, and people won't let you age up, and that's what you were just talking about. The idea of not having people around you that you can bond with. Because, again, this doesn't work unless it comes as close as one can to creating the human experience. It's almost a hell instead of a paradise. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Personal story here. After I got back from college, I moved back in with my folks, and they insisted that I go to church with them on Sundays. My parents are Episcopalian and both very active members of their church. Well, going back to the church after that, I grew up in that church, and it was fun because I was part of the youth group, and I had a lot of friends my age, and after church we'd go to the movies and go go-karting and things like that, had a fun youth pastor, so there was always stuff to do. But after I got back, all of my friends had moved on. They were either still in college or they moved to opposite sides of the country or whatever. And I realized going to the church, there's no one here that I can really talk to. It's all older folks, like my parents, retirees, and if anyone here is close to my age, they're young parents with little children, and they're, I can't really, sit and talk with them because they're kind of busy with their kids. And I left the church, and it's it is so hard to find contentment in something like that when you don't have anyone that you can, bond with like that.
Sure. We're human beings are social creatures, and that's not going to change in some sort of digital afterlife. Mm-hmm. You need people to bond with. You need to create those human interactions and relationships. So before we go, I want to just flesh out the romantic storyline between Nora and Nathan, and then we need to address, at least to one degree or another, the the murder mystery. I want to get your opinions on that, and then we'll close out for the night.
Okay.
So, what did you think of...
We haven't talked about the 2 gigs either.
The who?
The 2 gigs.
Okay. Yeah, wait, let's do that now. So, one of the... They do deal with sort of a class system. You have the unlimited gig people who are able to have full run of the place, and then you have the 2 gig people, which if you deal with this with phones, you know what this is like. They run out of data and they run out of it quickly, and so you have these people living in this digital afterlife, but they've only got so many gigs they can use. So they get they have to exist on free pages of books, and they kind of live in a black and white existence. They're trying to stretch their gigs over the course of a month because that's when when it gets renewed. If you have a phone with a limited set of gigabytes, you know what this is like. This is truly a horrible existence. And spoilers. This is what ends up happening with Nathan. He breaks up with Ingrid, and because he wants to be with Nora, so he's off her plan, and he becomes a 2 gig himself. Which becomes a nightmare scenario for all the characters involved.
Yeah, although it does beg the question, could you really enjoy the afterlife with all of the privileges and everything if it still meant that you had to get approval from someone else? I think about when, we're younger kids nowadays, when they're playing games on their phone and they got to get parents' permission to buy more memory space for the phone. Or I play Pokemon Go, and occasionally I need to purchase Poke Coins so I can get egg incubators or raid passes to continue on the game. And it just sounds horrible, really, the idea that you would have to, okay every single thing you want to do in that afterlife. The first day Nathan's up and walking around, he sees he's got a mini bar that's full of pretty much anything you can want and tons of product placement, but it all costs extra. If you play MMORPGs, you know exactly what we're talking about. Oh, this sword's really cool. Yeah, $10.
I love the gag of the ads, because this is a for-profit institution, they have to run, promotional items. So there's a big gag about Taco Bell, some sort of taco that they're promoting, and so the angels are like, "Hey, wouldn't you like to try a taco?"
Yeah. Oh my god, I'd almost forgotten about that.
I think at one point Luke is laying in a bath full of tacos.
Yeah, the boss is hounding on him. It's like, keep mentioning the promotional thing. Oh my god! Someone who has worked in the media, I know exactly what that's like. It's like, okay, keep bringing it up, keep bringing it up. So anytime I worked sales at a store or something, okay, bring up the sale. Okay, bring up the new product. Okay, try to get them over here to buy the new stuff. Yeah. Oh god, flashbacks.
The other thing I thought was funny was, and this is, you see this in Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet and all of that, where welcome to the internet, and it's just ads everywhere.
Yes.
True story. My email, my email can tell you that is a true story. I do a lot of blocking, a lot of spam notifications.
But yeah, it makes you wonder. The idea of upload sounds so great, but what if something happens to your family and you can't continue to afford it? In this year alone, 2020, we have seen a horrible economic crisis. We have seen so many companies going bankrupt. We've seen people losing their jobs, their houses. Imagine, you get uploaded and everything's fine, and your parents are well off, or your wife or your late. Or your wife or husband who's still living is well off, or your kids are well off, and they're paying for you to live this luxurious life and do whatever you want. And then something happens, and they can't afford it, and you have to go to that 2 gig.
Right. Or the other option is everyone goes to sleep, which they do an update in the show, and in the update they just make all the characters go to sleep at the same time. And then you have to trust that someone's going to wake you up again, that sort of thing. Yeah,
I do love the joke that I love the joke to, yeah, they're finally installing umami on our tongues. Oh, no wonder everything tastes like kettle corn. That was a great line.
That's funny.
For the record, I cannot stand kettle corn. I hate it.
All right, so over the course of several episodes, Nora and Nathan develop a bond and eventually a romantic relationship. Intertwined with that is the murder plot line where when Nora starts to realize that he may not have died naturally in a car accident, she starts doing an investigation of her own, and she starts to, what she discovers is he has memories that have been wiped, and so she's on a quest to get those memories. What she discovers is that he was the one who cheated his partner, and then was double crossed by the company, by Ingrid's father's company, as I recall. And because she feels like he did the partner dirty, she falls out of love with him. So let me get your opinion on all of that, just their relationship and the murder mystery.
The mystery hasn't been solved yet. That's what they're leading up to, but I think we all know there is more to this than meets the eye. We're going to find out that there's something else going on. Unfortunately, the creators of Upload have admitted that it's going to be a while before Season 2 comes out. This, sadly, is one of the shows that has fallen massive victim to COVID, and they are not able to start filming the new show until things are a little bit more safe. As of this recording, doesn't look like that's going to be anytime soon. So it may be a while before we figure out exactly what's going on, and hopefully Nora and Nathan figure out what's going on. There is a real mystery to this. It's very engaging. I love they bring in, I think it's Nathan's cousin Fran as a private investigator. She's not even a professional private investigator, but she's kind of taking it on herself. And she really does start to figure things out, and then somebody tries to hack her smart car and kill her.
Yeah, I wish they had done more with the Fran character. I was kind of bummed that they got rid of her so soon.
She was kind of fun.
But I guess they wanted to give a lot of the mystery solving to Nora, because it's only so long a show, and they've got to do stuff with the main characters. Anyway, I was kind of sad when she fell out of love with him, and then they spent a while trying to reunite them again. And I think as it is, with the way that it ended, she's on the run from the people hired by the company to quiet this down. So she goes to the Poconos with her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Byron. And the way that it ends, Ingrid ends up getting uploaded. And this I didn't understand. She's uploaded, and she's got, the unlimited gigs. He's a 2 gig when this is all over. But she uploaded herself to be with him. So I would assume she was paying for him as well. Like, that got a little confusing for me.
I'm sure that they were planning on the second season. She's going to go ahead and reinstate his privileges. Probably just hasn't done it yet. The idea that she had willingly uploaded... For those who didn't see the pilot episode, when you get uploaded, your head gets evaporated. It's both hilarious and probably one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. Because, it's like you sit there, your head goes poof, or as a headless corpse into a tub of ice. And I think we're all laughing because this happens in front of Ingrid and Nathan's mother. Just, oh my God, that's so awkward.
Yeah, it's done very comically.
And we see in the earlier parts of the season that they're actually trying to re-download consciousness into a vacant body. That is the end goal. It just hasn't been successful yet. So Ingrid has, for all intents and purposes, committed suicide. And there is no knowledge of when she'll be able to leave the upload. So she took one hell of a gamble here to be with him, even though it has been made perfectly clear he doesn't love her.
Yeah, he doesn't.
And like I said, part of me actually thinks she doesn't really love him either. I honestly think that Ingrid just doesn't want to be alone. I have known so many people that would rather be in a relationship with a total jerk jackass than try to go on with single life. And Ingrid screams that. Again, she's not an entirely bad character. We do see that she's got some good qualities to her. We see that she's good with Navina. We see that she stands up against her incredibly just
shit family.
1%er well, I was going to say 1%er family, but yeah, shit family too. She's not no one in the show, with the exception of the boss, who is supposed to be a dick. No one in the show is a totally reprehensible character, and I love that. I love how well these characters are written. You want to just write Ingrid off as the vain, dumb, manipulative bitch of a girlfriend, but she's not.
Yeah,
there's a lot more to it.
Yeah. She is a character with vulnerabilities, and she's somebody who you can be sympathetic to. All right, I'm going to give my final word here, and then I'll give you the last word. Overall, I like the premise of the show. I like the idea of the technology. When Jesse and I talked about it on Black Mirror, we really examined a lot of the similar philosophical questions about a digital afterlife. And I think the show handles satire of technology and futurism very well. I think the show handled the concept of the digital afterlife very well. I think it took time to say, but what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And even though it's a lot of throwaway lines and gags, I mean, I think by virtue of them being mentioned gives the show some heft. I didn't totally love the murder mystery thing, but I think they needed something else to give the show some meat. You can't just be 10 episodes of him dicking around, and I don't think they thought the romance aspect was enough to carry the show as short as it is. Overall, it was an enjoyable watch. I binged it all in one afternoon. And again, if you have the time and you haven't had an opportunity to, and you're listening to this, but you haven't had an opportunity to watch the show, it's got a lot of great characters, a lot of fun characters, and the show is eminently watchable. I think it's for somebody who watches a lot of heavy and dark and gritty stuff, this was a light change that I enjoyed. I'll give you the final word.
I really did enjoy the show. This was, like I said, this was one of the few times that I decided to just go ahead and sit down and watch something that I hadn't been requested to watch for the Rattleton Broadcasting Network, or it was something that I wanted to watch because I wanted to be able to discuss it with my customers or find some ideas off of it for my jewelry line. This was just something I saw a trailer for on YouTube, and I thought, oh my God, this sounds awesome. And it really is a great, enjoyable show. The actors are all great. I love the it sounds weird, but I love the use of the CGI on it. Again, we have that scene of him going through the mini bar, and every time he swipes, he gets a different selection of brand name foods. And it sounds weird just to say something little like that, but it looks seamless, and it really looks impressive.
The scene where he's riding horses with her father, and they temporarily have a blackout, and so they all become like blocky. I thought that was fantastic.
Yes! Oh, that was great. Again, anyone who has played MMORPGs or who has had to deal with data plans that they only have so much access to, you're going to understand exactly what's going on in this show, and you are going to relate to it. And I really liked it. It's on Amazon Prime. I say, guys, check it out. And we're just going to have to keep our fingers crossed the second season will get off the ground before too long. From what I've seen, it has been renewed. They just can't start filming yet. So,
all right. Well,
I guess we'll just have to wait this out.
Yep. Well, that's our discussion of Upload Season 1. When it comes back for Season 2, we'll give it a go again. Yesterday, myself and Chris Sheehan, we reviewed Avengers No Road Home. Last week, myself and Robert Winfrey reviewed the Kentucky Fried Movie right after he just finished seeing it for the first time, so that was hilarious. Myself and Jesse Starcher reviewed the Clutch concert from their practice space live from the Doom Saloon Volume 2. And then myself and Cole Marintet reviewed Transformers War for Cybertron Part 1 Siege. Tomorrow on the Metal Hammer of Doom, we'll be reviewing Avatar, Hunter-Gatherer. Next week, we'll have a Damn You Hollywood on Monday for the one and only Ivan. We'll have a TV party for SummerSlam, and myself and Jesse Starcher will review the new Carcass album. So that's what's going on here in the Rattlevision Broadcasting Network. Go ahead and plug your shop.
Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic. Unfortunately, our last of the Comic-Cons has been officially canceled for 2020, which means that my time out in Cape Girardeau was literally the only time I'm going to see the sun for this entire year. We are currently, however, engaged in a conversation with Level 1 here in Kansas City. They are back up and running. They are doing very well, and they are going to be buying some of our surplus here in the next few days. So if you're in the Kansas City area, go ahead and head down to the River Market. Our stuff's going to be back in the store. So excited about that. We're actually working with some other stores in the Kansas, Missouri area. We are hopefully going to be seeing more of our products on their shelves. Fingers crossed. Until then, you can always find our stuff on our Etsy and Handmade at Amazon shops. We are currently pushing out a lot of stuff and getting ready for autumn and Halloween, because I don't care if it's August. I'm celebrating my favorite holiday early, including a brand new hairbread celebrating probably one of my favorite cult classic movies, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Go ahead and get that Silver Shamrock song stuck in your head. I don't care. It's a classic. And we will have a new piece inspired by that in our store. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Under Duress Twitter. We will have all of our updates. We will have shop links to anything brand new that's coming out and any news about any conventions and anywhere we might be traveling to get our stuff on shelves. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
All right, thanks for joining us here on TV Party Tonight. For Alexis Haina, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.